Alright, CNT125. This is Mr. Brown. This is our first week orientation lab for CNT125. So first thing we want to do is on our content page for week 1, make sure you download the lab direction page. As I open that, I pick the option for file download as PDF, and I've actually already opened that and have it here ready to go. So that's the first thing you do. Second thing, download the packet tracer file that's here. Save that. Right now it's in my downloads folder. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to open my packet tracer first. I have the link right here off the edge of the page. I'm going to open packet tracer, get it set, and then go point to that file and open it up. So let me get, when it first launches, it basically asks you to log in. This will be maybe the first time you use it. So plug your account in. So I'm going to plug mine in. And off to the corner, there's a little box here. I think it's right off the edge of my page. It says, keep me logged in. Check that box. And then finish your login. And now hopefully that'll save at least for a little while. Sometimes there's a little slide button that says for a few months. And that'll keep you logged in, that you don't need to do this every single time that you launch Packet Tracer. This is version 8.0. I think 8.1 actually has like a little slide switch that you say, keep me logged in. That's what you pick down there and right below your login. So do that, that way it's going to stay logged in for you. So there's my packet tracer. I'm going to open that file. I have it in my downloads folder. So I'm going to open that guy. I'll let him launch. And the second thing, I'm going to make sure I have my lab file handy here. So I have both handy, my lab file and my packet tracer file, and we should be able to get going. All right, for our orientation lab, we're going to do a little bit of review from some things you did in 120, and we're going to add one or two little things that we need for 125 as we start doing labs. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to do some copper link connections, because you'll notice we have a couple workstations here that are not connected up. So we want to connect those, but we're going to do those in the format we did towards the end of 120, where we're actually going to go to the physical tab here in Packet Tracer and connect these workstations up. So right here, I'm going to click my physical tab. I get my two cities. I'm going to go into the Harrisburg city. I'm going to go into the Harrisburg office, and now I have my office building. And remember, you can use your plus and minuses here to zoom in and out. There's the wiring closet and a couple workstations. What we're going to do first is we're going to connect the PC to the work area outlet, and then we're going to go over to the closet and make the connection from the patch panel to the switch. So hopefully this will sound familiar or feel familiar from 120. We're going to connect our workstations here to the outlet on the wall like we'd have in an office. So I'll pick my connections. I'll pick a straight through cable, and I'm going to connect on the PC, select the NIC, and I'm going to click on the outlet box. I'm going to click the first jack that's here, jack 0. That one's connected, and then I'm going to connect the laptop and do the same thing. Fast Ethernet, wall outlet, and I'll pick jack 1. So these are now cabled to the outlet on the wall with a little patch cable. They're showing the link is down because we haven't made the connection in the closet yet. So let's go do the connection to closet. I'm going to click on the closet. Here is my equipment rack. Here is my power strip. Here's the router. Here's the switch. Here's the patch panel. And down here is a packet sniffer and hub that we'll be using later. And this is a laptop we'll be using for consoling in to the router a little bit later as well. I'm going to zoom in so I can see my equipment rack a little bit better. We need to connect the patch panel port to our switch. So again, let me zoom in maybe one or two more here. That'll make it a little easier to see. We're going to connect the first patch panel port here to the first switch port. So we're going to use a copper straight through cable. In this case, it's the yellow one. And we're going to go from the very first patch panel port into the very first switch port. And we're going to repeat that for the second one, because that's the second computer we plugged in. And port 2 is actually below port 1 on the switch. So now we have the patch cable out where the work area is, where the computer is. Now we have the patch cable in the closet, and we should be seeing some blinking link lights show up. And if I were to back out here, I'll see that I'm getting blinking link lights here as well. Excellent. So there is my connections for the Harrisburg side. Let's repeat this for the Philly side. So I'm going to back out. I'm going to back out. Here's Harrisburg. I'm going to go to Philly. Before I do that, I might actually do a little save on my packet tracer file. I'll do a save as on mine and I'm just going to call it demo. That way I know this is the one I'm using to demonstrate for you guys. And periodically as I go, I can save so I don't lose any progress. I'll click on the Philadelphia site, Philadelphia office. Again, here's the closet. Here's some workstations. Here's the outlet box in the wall. Let's cable these guys up from the PC NIC over to the first jack, jack 0. From the laptop into the next jack, in this case is jack 1. The patch cable at the work area is done. Let's go to the closet. This one now has, here's our router, here's our switch, here's our patch panel, and then here are the servers that are at this site. There's the servers at this site. Alright, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more, and let's go from switch to patch panel here again. Straight through cable, very first port to very first port, very next port to very next port right below right there. So those are now cabled, and you see blinky lights is there as well. If I were to back out a level, I'll see that we're getting blinky link lights here too. So we now physically have our connections, our computers connected at the Harrisburg site and as well as the Philly site. Excellent. Now, we're going to move out and to do, if you think about it, that was our layer 1-2 connection. If you think way back to 120, that was our layer 1-2. We now need to do the layer 3 or the addressing part. So we're now going to do that on the logical tab. So I'm going to, I'll back out again here. I should see my 2 sites. Now I'm going to go to the logical tab, and I should see my devices connected, but you'll notice that the links look a little odd. That's a little quirk with Packet Tracer. Just gently move your PC a little bit, and the connection should show or connect right up as it should. Okay, so there is my workstations at the Harrisburg and the Philly site connected. Yes, there are additional laptops up here. We need those later. We are not going to cable them in now. We need those later for connecting into the routers at our sites. Okay, so we're not going to do anything with them at this point. All right, so now on the Harrisburg side, let's put some static addressing. And then over on the Philly side, we'll do some dynamic addressing over here. So Harrisburg side, let's pick on the first computer over here. We'll do the Harrisburg PC. I'll go to the desktop, I'll go to ipconfig, and you'll notice it's set for DHCP, and it's getting a PIPA address, automatically privately assigned IP address. So we want to go on static, and actually, if you remember what that means is, it's set for dynamic, it's trying to get to a DHCP server, and it cannot, so it self-assigns a PIPA 169.254. So we are going to use static addressing on this site, and let me get this so I can see here. For this computer, we need 192.168.10.10. So 192.168.10.10. Check for typos. My subnet mask, default C, 255.255.255.0. Default gateway, 192.168.10.1. That's the address of the router we're attached to. It's the address of this router port right here. That's our default gateway, that router port right there. And the DNS server, well, the DNS server is over at the other site. So 192.168.30.2 if I remember correctly. 30.2 if I remember correctly. Yep, there he is, 30.2. So I'm going to close that for right now. Here is my DNS server, 30.2. Okay. So my Harrisburg PC, I'm going to do a command prompt, ipconfig, verify my IP address settings, and there it is right there, looking good. While I'm at it, I'm just going to do a quick ping to 192.168.10.1, my gateway address, and I should get that. If I do not, I would need to go back and check my IP configuration. Oops, back to the desktop here. Check my IP configuration for typos. That's what I would be checking for at this point. All right, let's do the laptop. Same process. Desktop, ipconfig, static, 192.168.10.11. We don't want to repeat the IP address of the other PC. Default Class C subnet mask, 192.168.10.1. Again, the gateway router we're attached to. 192.168.30.2 is the address of the DNS server. Again, I will do a close here. Command prompt ipconfig. There's my 10.11, good. And I'm going to try to ping my gateway address, 192.168.10.1. And I get that. Excellent. If I didn't, again, I would go do some troubleshooting. All right. So there's my Harrisburg side, static addressing. Let's check connectivity over to the HTTP server. So we're going to do a double check over to 30.4 on both of these. So command prompt, ping, 192.168.30.4. The first ping might time out until it finds its path. That's okay. But we should get a successful ping after that. If I do not, again, go back, double check. You hear for typos, okay? Most likely that's the case right now. Harrisburg laptop, command prompt, ping, 192.168.30.4. And there is the successful ping there. So good. We know all of our settings are correct over here. Again, if that did not work, go back and double check your IP settings for typos. Let's move to the Philadelphia side and do some dynamic addressing. So over here, Philadelphia PC, I'm going to go to the desktop, ipconfig, and I will cycle it from static to dynamic to try to see if it'll pick up an IP address. It's trying, but it is not able to reach the DHCP server, so it self-assigns a 169.254. At this point, I'd be scratching my head going, well, let's try the Philly laptop as a just in case. Maybe one has a problem and the other one does not. So we'll try this, and again, this should hopefully work. If it does not, oh, it does not. We're getting another APIPA. So both of these are supposed to be able to communicate with the DHCP server, but they're not getting an address. So let's actually go to the DHCP server. We're going to open up the Services tab, and we're going to look at the DHCP service right here, and we're going to see that that service is actually off. So we're going to turn that service on and double check that the addressing information here is correct. 30.1 for the gateway, 30.2 for the DNS server. It's going to hand out 30.100 and so forth. Looks like it should be okay. I will close this and I will go back to my PC here, ipconfig, and actually in that time it's already picked up an IP address, but I'll cycle it to static and back to dynamic, and let it go through the process, and it's now picking up a 100.1. Excellent. Well, while I'm at it, I might as well just do a command prompt. I'll do an ipconfig, and I do see that I'm getting a 3101, and let's just ping the web server while we're here. 192.168.30.4, and I get a successful web server. Excellent. Let's do the same thing for the laptop. ipconfig. I'll cycle to static. I'll come back to dynamic, and it has a 3102. Perfect. Okay. Let's do a ping to. Actually, we'll do an ipconfig. We'll verify that we're getting, actually looking at our IP address 30.102. Good. And then we'll ping our web server, 192.168.30.4. And we do have communication to the web server. So, real quickly, we have cabled both sites up, all the patch cables in the work area in the closet. On the Harrisburg side, we put on static addressing and verified we have connection over to our web server that's over here. On the Philly side, again, we did all the patch cables, work area, closet, and then we did dynamic addressing after making sure the DHCP server service was turned on. And then these have an address, and we were able to communicate again with the HTTP server, actually pinged there, so we have a complete path. So now we know layers 1, 2, 3, if you will, are functioning. All right. So now, actually, we're down to this far down here, dynamic. Okay, so then we did our ping tests here. When we come back on the next one, we'll pick up on part 3 and part 4.